I like that.
For waiting for us. Okay, very good evening. Welcome to the last presentation for the summer semester. To start off with, we want to make the European dream come true. So we have planned really good ideas. We have come up with really good solutions, and we are trying to be in the limelight from past 1 week. Presentation for a change in Chinese this time. Actually, no. This word means "we chi" in Chinese. It means crisis. So it has a very strange meaning to itself. It's crisis, but each letter stands something different. Let's see what it means. One says danger, and the other letter says opportunity. So what we are trying to do is take this crisis as an opportunity to integrate Europe. So let's start what we have for you guys. First, we are going to start off with everybody has built a strong foundation for us. They have started about the threefold strategy, talking about the body parts. They have really given a good foundation. As a last group, I'm taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
So, in the short term, we are planning for financial solutions that make the system robust. And in the long term, we are going from the financial to the social, slowly shifting. Thanks to Mr. Williams for teaching us the social aspect. So we included that as well. And then the beautiful ladies in my group are going to talk to you guys about the archetypes maps. Moving on with what I have, as I've mentioned for you guys, and even the other themes I've mentioned. What started as a financial crisis is slowly ended up being a social crisis, with increasing unemployment, crime rates, murders, so many things. So this crisis has been pretty much into the limelight since the 2008. It affected the European zone as well. So let's look into our solution straight away. So one of our first solutions is going to be quantitative easing. So this is nothing but is a strategy used by central banks to add more money into circulation. So what I'll explain you as one of the groups have already mentioned, how GDP is generated is the money circulated in the economy and money spent creates a GDP. So looking at the one of the possible things, if there is more money, people try to spend more, it increases the GDP and it's good for the economy. Looking at the other side, if there is no money circulation and there is no economic activity and no people spending, it reduces the GDP. So taking this as a foundation, I'll move on a step further, saying money supply is an important indicator for economic activity. And fall in money supply slows down the economy. Let's actually look into a few of the graphs, what we got. Economic recovery has been very tough for countries because they're posting very low growth rates. And many countries in Euro is already having the austerity measures, so people are not actually spending money. So you need to spend money in order to improve your GDP. So this is the money supply. I got this from the ECB website. Since 2010, the ECB has been pumping in money, not pumping in money, taking it easy. So what's happening is, there's a recent graph, you can see there's a drop in the money supply in the economy. And this has led to the economic outcomes increasing in unemployment. On the other hand, when there's no economic activity, what is happening? There's deflation coming to your picture. So you can actually see there's a 6 months short inflation showing it's coming down less than 1.4. So even like consumer loan growth has been reduced. So people are not actually spending. If you want your economy to improve, you need to start spending. So it improves the GDP. So taking this as again the foundation, I'll move on to asking you guys two questions. Where is inflation in Europe when people are actually it's running down to deflation and low inflation levels? And one more thing, people have been comparing GDP. So when there is no actually GDP producing, it doesn't give you any figure like when you start comparing GDP to your debt. So what we thought is quantitative easing can be one of the solutions, because one of the solutions is private banks selling their assets to ECB to increase the cash reserves. With the cash reserves, they should be able to lend the investors. So let me give an example of countries that have done this before. Italy has done this in 1974 when it borrowed $2 billion using gold as a collateral from German banks. And Portugal did the same thing, borrowed $1 million in 1975. India has done the same thing from Japan. I don't know if India is still doing, but you know. So India also done the same thing. And a joint survey by WGC survey found that 61% of the Italian business want to implement this idea. And 52% of the general public support this idea as gold as a collateral. So let's see what's happening here. Once you issue bonds with the gold collateral, it's increasing cash flows into your economy and increasing the economic activity. Once you start like having money, you try to do something to your economy and improve budgets, regaining rating agencies. Rating agencies will start rating you better. Once rating starts better, the media comes into the picture. The country is doing very good. It's the time to invest. People talk. So it increases the investors' confidence. So it's a positive reinforcement, and it's very good for the economy. So moving to the next solution.
It's me talking about Europeanization. It's a way of integrating the European Union more. Because right now, the European Monetary Union is fragile as a system because it doesn't have the necessary mechanism to absorb the shocks that hit it. And one of the main issues is between the sovereignty of the countries and the European Union, because the countries are reluctant to give up their sovereignty and lose control. A proposed solution is to give the control of taxes and government spending to a fiscal unit. But it has been proved that people are less political acceptable. They won't accept this because they feel like they give up their sovereignty. So this makes the control and political influence in Brussels limited. So we propose to hit the banking sector because it already has a reputation problem. It will be more politically acceptable than a union. And it's also such technocratic and distant for most people and far away from their everyday life, so it will be easy. And it can reduce the systemic risk and also the conflict of interest between domestic and national governments. So what we see is that we want to establish a new financial organization that's independent from the ECB, that will supervise and regulate at the European level. And then to diversify risk, we'll propose a cap on national governments of how much a bank can own a single national government's bond. So Cyprus don't happen all over again. And this will hopefully result in lowering the amount of domestic government bonds for the banks. It will dilute the current relationship between national banks and national governments that hinder the economic recovery. Because right now, the banks are receiving bailout money and they are being forced to buy national government bonds. So giving money to the banks is like giving money to the governments, and you don't know where it goes. And then you will also have more funds available to other sectors for economic recovery, and then particularly the SMEs. So there you see some quick facts about the SMEs. They constitute 9.8% of all EU companies. They contribute to 50% of the total value added. And they provide 67.4% of all private jobs and 80% of all new jobs from 2006 to 2011. So, by affecting the SMEs, we can also reduce unemployment and increase the social situation in Europe. And if there is a bank failure, it will not be solved at the national level, it will be solved at the European level. And it will also improve the overall economics. So here we see how it is. Right now, the EMU is affected by the sovereign debt that the countries are holding. This affects the condition of the banks, and the rating of the countries affects the assets that the banks hold. So this affects the condition of the banks again in a negative way, which affects the economic environment and the European Monetary Union. So we suggest an intervention in the condition of the banks with a financial mechanism that can supervise the banking sector, dissolution of the domestic banks and national governments, which leads to more diversification, reduced exposure, SMEs have investment in those, and then increase the sovereign rating, the economic condition, which will then benefit the EMU again.
So I think one of the enduring tragedies